I think the mic's on now. Okay. I didn't make copies, so we'll have to follow along with the presentation if you don't mind. Put it in, take the next one. And Kirsten, I think on the city financials, were you going to comment on these? Yeah, I think in addition to what's there, just quick, the general fund expenses, as you see, but in 2022, at the end of 2022, going into 2023, we had $10,851,000. So we were up about $800,000 there. In 2022, we had unencumbered balances of $4,871,737. So we had substantially less unencumbered back then. So I think that adds to why our expenses are so much. The rainy day fund did increase a little bit, about $60,000 from last year. And when it comes to park and rec expenses, we had a banner year for working on our parks. It was about 900, almost $1 million more than we had last year in those park expenses. And an unencumbered balance last year of $1,624,000. Our ARPA, we're utilizing committing our ARPA more now, so you're not seeing a whole lot in the unencumbered balance there, but we do have intended uses for that. So, and edit, of course, edit is something that I try to keep my eye on, and I'm not sure those are not. I don't have the numbers from last year, but I think our edit is still in pretty good shape. I'm sorry about not having that available right now. Next slide. The Heart of Jasper and Main Street program. I want to speak to that just quickly because I think it has been a real hit in the several years that it's been in place. They are a catalyst for our downtown revitalization. When you combine them with the projects that Rojack has contributed to the city over the years, it's redefined our downtown. It is with Rojack and their large, I'm going to say large projects, amenities, sites for visitation. It's become a tourist attraction, and the Heart of Jasper is trying to create that environment then that is really kind of bringing a lot of visitors into the area. So there's a lot going on within the Heart of Jasper. You can see the business startups. You can see the numbers up there, and I'm just really pleased with how they are working with, and now they're working really closely with Rojack for the future of the downtown area. Also have been a real key component of the downtown merchants and the Chamber of Commerce. So let's go to the next one. This is probably worth spending a little bit of time on. One, we are the only municipality in the state of Indiana that has NSHARP certification. And we continue to do that because it keeps us on our toes and our own employee safety. We've gone 15 months now without a lost time injury. And that never fails, but that doesn't happen without a lot of effort. When you look at the number of employees we have total over there, we have 375 total employees when we include seasonal. That's a lot of orientation, training, and cultural acceptance when it comes to safety. They look after each other. The age of our employees is gradually coming down, and that's due to retirement. The average years of service is coming down, again, because of the retirements. We have a lot of baby boomers that are approaching retirement. They've indicated their interest in retiring in the next couple of years, and they're They're working with INPRS on their retirement plans so they know what's going to be available to them. So I feel pretty good that, those employees that have been here a long time will leave here healthy. I mean, healthy from a standpoint of we're taking care of them, and they're not getting injured at work, but also our health care costs. Our wellness program has avoided us raising the cost to employees for the last 5 years. So we've been able to hold those costs for 5 years, and that's unheard of when I talk to any other municipality around. I really believe it's that partnership with Memorial Hospital and the wellness program we've implemented and the things that employees are embracing. So I hope it helps as a community, helps us move in the right direction there. The one last bullet point there is the Indiana Office of Technology. They've requested that municipalities meet certain standards, and we had been one of the first ones to sign up to meet those cyber-ready standards. And it's to protect the data. It's to protect the data of our customers, our employees, and prevent us from being shut down from those that have bad intentions. And we've heard many stories of municipalities, specifically in the utilities, that have had incidents where the utility's been impacted because of remote access and being able to bridge into the system. So this is a big deal for us. It's something new, and the Indiana Office of Technology is driving it.
Mayor, we also probably have, I don't know the number, but it's probably a real low turnover rate, isn't it, for our city?
Our turnover rate is extremely low. And I'll get to, I think we had, I've got the numbers here in a little bit later, but when you look at our rate, I think it's like 2 to 3%. And when I was in industry, it was double digit, not quite in the 20s, but it's approaching 20s. And I think it had increased since then. So that's been 10 years ago almost. So most of the turnover rates I hear of are just extremely high. But I think that's the reason for our low is because we do a pretty good job of selection. We look for cultural fits. So I'll give our personnel department a lot of credit for that. When it comes to any role within the city, they're looking for that cultural fit and how it's going to best work into the organization long term, not just short term. We did have a couple of retirements, specifically for people that are my appointees, Jerry Sheeter in the electric department and Scott Ackerley in the street department. And we brought on 3 new ones, Stan Seifert, Matt Kiefer, and Josh Gunselman. Darla had left us voluntarily for another job opportunity, so that wasn't a retirement. We had 3 leave, and those are the 3 new appointments. Again, I feel very comfortable with how these 3 gentlemen have come in as leaders and are leading their departments. We do participate in the Career Cruise, which is held at the Jasper High School, and it shows opportunities within the city for employment, specifically the park department, the arts department, the fire department, the police department have been involved in that in the past. We're encouraging others, to get involved in it so that there's a lot of good lab jobs, high-tech jobs within our departments that just aren't well known by the public. So as we have openings come up with retirements, we want to be able to fill those. Yeah, and Kevin, thank you for asking the question. I would encourage, if you have a question as we go through here, just to ask as we go. Don't wait till the end, okay? We did establish an endowment for the downtown for gathering spaces and the maintenance of the new revitalized square. That endowment is something that we're going to continue with other projects to make sure that we have the funding available to keep it in top-notch quality condition. It's one thing to have something beautiful when you start, but it's another thing to keep it beautiful. People are always commenting about the community and how well it looks. And I want to have that with any of the assets the City of Jasper is responsible for. We did get awarded the Uplands Quality of Place Attraction Award this past year, so it's another award. It's something that we aspire to be the place to reside, to come, and to be employed. So I'm really pleased with that outcome in 2023. Go to the next one. Now here, yes, sir.
That endowment for the courthouse square, that just covers just the courthouse square. I mean, it's not tied into any other maintenance.
It's downtown revitalization for the courthouse square, specifically the gathering spaces and the. We're gonna need to maintain the permeable pavers on a regular basis. And that requires special treatment to it. So.
It's also for programming.
And for programming, yeah. So it was intended to bring music, different things to the downtown area, to activate the downtown. Thanks, Renee. Planning department, you can see here, in 2022, we had 320 permits issued, so just a few more. We had about the same amount when it comes to dollars and investments from those permits. And in 2022, we issued 20 mobile food truck permits. So actually had a few more interested in this. In 2023, in addition to those numbers up there, we had 51 sign permits, 57 fence permits, and 23 pool permits. The planning department's been very active, and of course that went through some transition this year with Darla's resignation and with Josh Gunselman coming on board. But I tell you, Josh has really embraced the role and is doing a good job coming in. His experience on the BZA was very helpful. We did, as a community, we were involved in the establishment of the Alassi Resource Center, which is in Huntingburg. That's critical for our community because of the number of immigrants to the area, and giving them the resources they need to find resources within the community. So they're that bridge. The other thing, the bottom point there, of course, council was involved in that. The Dora district is being established in 2023. That's a big step, as I've heard other communities now also seeking to get that. And they're wanting our footprint, how we did it. Some of them actually received the same permission the same time we did, but still in the process of getting it passed. In the utilities office, again, a lot going on in the utilities. They are definitely being impacted by several retirements. We must have just started our utilities back 40 years ago or so, because there's a lot of retirements coming through the different departments. I will say that our water department felt that last year. And the new hires they brought on board, they are all certified water operators, or whatever the term is. Tim has worked with them. They've received their certifications, and that takes a relief off of us as a community, because we've got people that are actually trained in how to do that. Many municipalities today struggle to have those certifications in place. So every one of the hires has passed that. There are several retirements planned here in 2024 also, and some of them in leadership roles. In the utility office, they were hit with retirements. They've had 2 last year and are facing 2 this year right away. So that staff is really turning over. But even with that, they're doing a great job of managing our $44 million in sales. And you can see what kind of bad debt that we're accumulating there. It's really nothing. I will say that out of that bad debt, it's a little higher than it was in previous years, but that's because of one incident, and it was one customer who passed away, and we can't collect. It was about a $9,000 impact. So, other than that, we would have been in pretty good shape compared to last year. And small claims, we did collect $2,400 more through small claims, but then we fell short of the 2022 number in the tax refund exchange compliance system. And that was 14,166 back in 2022. So. Then the wastewater department. We had 2.3 inches less rain in 2023 than we did in 2022. Doesn't sound like much, but when you start looking at some of the other numbers, we actually treated $80 million gallons less than we did in 2022. Now, 2-point-something inches of rain probably doesn't account for all of that. But we have been working on leakage. We've been working on the infiltration into our wastewater system we had stormwater laterals that were tied into it in some of the older neighborhoods, and those have been corrected. There's been a lot of work done in order to improve that. We were called to inspect 417 laterals in 2022, in which 75 failed. So we didn't inspect as many laterals, which maybe there weren't as many problems out there, and we didn't have as many failures. So a lot of that is depending upon the housing market too, because of the requirements to have those sewer lines inspected. And Again, I'll mention wastewater department is one where we're going to be facing several retirements in the near future.
Mayor, I'm curious, does that treatment of that much less water, does that equate to that much less consumption?
Wastewater plant.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, either way, that much less.
I can't say that would be the case. I don't think people are.
It's probably the infiltration.
Let's wait until you see the water numbers.
I do think it's the gutters, stormwater.
You know what I mean?
I do think it's stormwater is a big part of it. Yeah. Yeah. I do think that's the biggest portion of it, Chad. Is stormwater infiltration. And that was brought up, that's been brought up for how many years? Many, because that when we have an issue down at the plant of capacity, it's usually during a heavy storm, and we get that infiltration. If it wasn't infiltrating from the storm, the storm shouldn't have had any impact on really that sewage treatment. So again, we do have permits for the biosolids to go to the farm grounds. And of course, all those numbers are a little bit less than they were last year. Okay, then the next in the gas and water department. Now, we did test more drinking water samples in 2023 than we did in 22, and we also processed 53 million more gallons of water in the filtration plant. So our water usage went up considerably. And there are more tests being done. There are more tests for pools. There's just you can look down through the numbers there. The number of breaks being and main breaks being fixed. I think we're continuing to see less and less. And I hope that's the case. I hope we're getting to that old infrastructure and getting it replaced and fixed. And with the work that's being done in this older part of town, I think that's going to be the case. I think our water infrastructure should be in pretty good shape in a couple of years. It should be in good shape now, but I think we've still got some work to be done. Any questions on gas and water? Again, I think Tim has done a pretty good job of requiring his new employees to get their certifications right away, do their study work. Next, the electric department. I hear this is Stan Seifert took over the electric department with Jerry's retirement. Stan has come in and assumed both his role and Jerry's role for the balance of the year, just to see what the requirement was going to be going forward. And we anticipate that we will probably be replacing Stan's role here, his old role, in the near future. But Stan has really been promoting a new substation on the north side as part of our resiliency for utilities, and we're looking at plans now that are being developed with the help of IMPA and some consultants. And I'm not mentioning the AMI project because it's been going last year. We've made some significant progress again this year, but it's probably another year and a half, 2 years before we complete that project. We're about 50% completed according to Ashley in the office.
Mayor Stan said they were working on loops in several areas to improve service and everything. I didn't see that up there, but I know they're focusing on that.
I think that's that substation on the north side. We don't have, if the one that's on Mill Street would go out, that whole north side, we haven't got a backup to get to it. And that's the issue. He's trying to build some resilience in there. I didn't mention it, but on the water department, and I will a little bit later on some of the projects we're facing in 2024, but the water department, we had a backup water supply. We've asked the utility department to connect with a backup supply, so we're not just relying on the Patoka River. And that is underway with Patoka Water. We'll be connecting on the north side of town with them to one of their mains. So that should happen this year. And the electric department, again, they were so involved out here in the courthouse square revitalization. They've moved more cable and wires and infrastructure than I wanted to see. They were on top of it. They stayed in front of the construction crews and did it without complaint. So I just really want to applaud the electric department for their cooperation with that. They also installed. Normally it's the Christmas tree and some of our decorations around the poles, but this year we had a lot of new decorations on the poles. They installed that. They're storing it right now, but they're busting at the seams from storage standpoint, and we've got to look at some alternatives down the road. So we've got a meeting coming up. I think Renee and Kirsten and I are going to meet with Ann and with Bud to talk about what the possibilities might be in the future for the electric department. Then after the electric department, you got the police department. Probably one of the most significant things, not Sergeant Adam Barr retirement, but it was significant. It was significant in the fact that we have a number of individuals that expressed interest. I think there was like 9 candidates that internal candidates expressed interest in that role. So we've got a young force eager to grow and develop within the police department. I think hats off again to Cale and Chief for recruiting talent that want to be here. They want to be in Jasper, Indiana. A couple of them have come from Henderson, Kentucky in the past and have been outstanding. I feel like the police department has come a long way. I think they're doing a lot in today's world to respond to the needs of not just residents, but even those that are passing through. They did increase the number of citations written by 166 in 2023, and they issued 645 more warnings. You know, the number of arrests were up by 52, not a huge amount, but there was also a reduction in the number of drug arrests. So I don't think we've hit that tipping point yet on drug arrests, but I think we've been pretty careful in trying to get the message through that we just don't accept it. And the number of stops that we make with these new uniformed officers out there in patrol, that makes a difference. That's where we're catching these people. So feel pretty good about that. We had former officer John Fleck and then Daniel Moore come on board as part-time dispatcher. That is a big relief, specifically for that night dispatch and those shifts. You don't have people that are there by themselves at any time. They've got a backup. It's making a big difference. And we see part-time dispatching as something that we're encouraging others. It's a good step in. It's a good way to come into the force. It's also a good way as you leave the force, as John has done. He wanted to stay involved, and this is another way he can stay involved. Next, the fire department. That's a fire department. They are volunteers, and they're the heart and soul of our public safety, and they're to be commended for their commitment to the residents of our community. They've got other full-time employment, and they've got a compassion to serve the public all hours of the day, 365 days a year. You see in the lower right what is an asset management plan that the volunteer fire department has put together. Chief and his assistant chiefs have assembled this. They're using a model out of Florida, and I reviewed it today. We're going to be meeting with others and then meeting with the council to share that information. It's important that we understand the long-term commitments to our volunteer fire department and eventually the transition from a volunteer to a full-time. Don't see that. I'm not seeing that for 10 years, maybe, but eventually it's going to happen. And I think we've got to just understand what that's going to do to our resources. But you can see there, still one of the big issues that our volunteer fire department has is the repeat calls. We had 3 calls to the same residents yesterday for lift assist. And it's an unfortunate situation. And we can't charge for the 911 call when we respond unless they go to the hospital. We don't get reimbursed for that. On the 3rd call, we finally had this individual go to the hospital. So time and time again, we have the same repeats. And then it drains our funding because we're responding and we're paying for those responses. And you well know that the challenge in the fire department is to stay on top of equipment. We want to make sure they have the right safety equipment to be able to do their jobs and not put themselves at risk. Next is the Parks Department. And Buffalo Trace has really come a long way. Several years ago, we were losing money on an annual basis, and we're making money there now. We had over 25,000 rounds played. And, I think the future of Buffalo Trace is very promising, especially with the addition of the new driving range or practice facility that's being launched this spring. We did the pickleball courts at Beeler Park. We had the Ruxer 18-hole disc golf course, and look at that. 1,162 rounds were played that were registered on the app. So there's a lot of people that don't use the app, but they'll go out and use the facility. And that was since the opening. We opened it in early August. It was like right after Strassenfest, or right at Strassenfest time. So I think that's pretty good. Good utilization of an area in the city that we struggled with for a number of years. We lost, I think it was like $400,000 a year on chemicals and treatment and everything because it could get washed away in the spring, or couldn't open until June. The other thing, we did install key fobs at the park facilities, and we did that for the security of our residents. We have young residents that are involved in soccer and other activities that go to our parks early in the morning to meet their teams. And we were experiencing individuals that were sleeping in the restrooms, showering, and creating an environment that was just not felt safe for these young children to be in. So we installed these key fobs. They lock at a certain time at night automatically, and since we've done that, we haven't had an issue with these restrooms. We do direct anyone in need that's homeless and passing through Jasper or has been identified to contact the JPD, and then they will assess the situation and direct them to where they can get some assistance. I've had that question asked again today, so I thought I'd bring that up. The reason those key fobs are on there, it's for the safety and security of our residents, specifically the younger ones. And then the city mill, we had an unexpected expense last year, and that's what started the dialogue on one of the subjects tonight. We had a $20,000 expense just to get the wheel repaired. Next. Park, like I said, the park was very busy this past year and you saw the expenses, but the wetlands inspection up at Parklands, we passed our second one, so we got one more to go before we have to be released. We get to be released. Doing a lot of amenities throughout just to bring them up to date, and I'm real happy with where we are with the parks and the progress they're making. We've got a lot of things we want to do, but we're making some progress. The Universal Carousel that was installed at JC Park, again, that's something specific to those that may be wheelchair bound or have some kind of physical impairment. So really glad we're making those steps as well to be a park for all. Next. The Arts Department, they had a good year. Their rentals were good. Their activity was good. The number of people coming through was higher than it had been in previous years. I feel really good about their programming improvements. And we just made the move to a full-time coordinator for school programming and arts activities. So that, I think, is going to be extremely helpful for us and bring things like, I don't know how many of you were able to attend the Free Hugs event, but the two public events that were well received by those that did attend. And I'd like to see more and more of that. The Chalk Walk has always been that's kind of been the anchor out here and around the square, and now down at the Cultural Center. Go ahead. I think key here is when I talked to Kyle, we built the Tim Clark Cultural Center, and we didn't want it just to be open 5 days a week. We wanted it to be accessible to the public, and so we are open 343 days out of the year. I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good compared to what you'd see from other facilities like ours. And again, you see the participation up there. It's about 3,000 more than the previous year, I think. So, and we had 574 activities compared to 440 in 2022. So, again, really good stuff. The auditorium, the entrance to the auditorium was enhanced and restrooms added. That's been built. Add additional restrooms specifically for women. There was just such a demand at the intermissions that people couldn't even get back in their seats in time for the second part of the performances. So that's been well received. Next is the street department. Now, they get accolades from the community all the time because they do what they can to keep it clean. The rubbish, pick up rubbish, the garbage on time, recyclables. The street department is out there now spreading beet juice and whatever to keep the public safe. So there is no shortage of people calling in saying, we really appreciate what the street department has done for us. We have guys that'll stop and help residents bring their trash out or lift something that they see the residents in struggle. So I think it's just a wonderful thing. And we're big on community crossings grants. We've been applying for those on a regular basis and been awarded community crossings grants. And that's really getting us a 2-for-1. For every dollar we spend, we're getting $1 from the state. And that helps us get through a lot of these streets and the development of the stormwater, new curbs and inlets. So we got to keep doing that.
Mayor, I just saw an article this afternoon that the community crossing's been raised from $1 million to $1.5 million for communities. So we have an opportunity to get even more money on that for this next cycle.
They can raise it a lot. A lot of smaller communities, we talked about this, they raise what you're capable of getting, but for a small community to match much, that takes us from 1 million capacity up to 1.5 million, and we've been fortunate to get $500,000 to go towards some of these projects. But it's good. It's good, and I'm glad the state is doing that. They understand the need on infrastructure in small towns. You can go ahead and change it. And here's a reference to the trash and so forth that I mentioned earlier. We are a benchmark for other communities when it comes to our street department. People that tour it, people that see our community, they send their staffs over to see what we're doing because they want to copy that. And we did have fewer dogs this year than we did last year. So that's a good thing. The next is the Mayor's Youth Leadership Council. This year, you can see our previous projects, 4 previous projects there. And Rookshire Disc Golf was one of them that we finished up in August. But in 2024, our project now is the development of a nonverbal communication board. And this is for people with autism primarily. The standard out there is English, an English board. It's got a lot of symbols and pictures to refer to help nonverbal people communicate. We're taking it a little bit farther. We're going to do it in Spanish also. And so it'll be 2-sided, English on one side, Spanish on the other side, so that as people are in parks, and we've got 8 parks these are going to be constructed in, this was a recommended project by the park department to us. They'd like to have these out there because of the issues that they see and the fact that it would be more resident friendly. We've got 21 students. Lisa is the leader and does a great job leading that group. They are doing their own fundraising. This is not a budgeted thing within the city. It is something that is self-funded. So they do their own fundraising, and they're doing a great job in making these projects happen.
That in the, like at City Hall, maybe not a big, you know, but maybe a laminated copy of it at the front desk.
Great idea. Yeah, police and fire have it with them. Yeah, we ought to look into that. Good point. Always looking, continuous improvement. Thank you. You go to the next. Then in 2024, these are the main projects that we're working on right now. Of course, the downtown infrastructure revitalization project, phase 2, and then we'll get started this spring on that. The regional sewer district project, and we've got a new project lead on it for the county, and we'll be working with them to see how we can not only serve the north side of Jasper, but also help with the Hayesville and Portersville issues that are up there. The backup water supply I mentioned with Patoka Water, the multi-use trail expansion from Mill Street to St. Charles, that'll be that north side connection, and we'll have 3/4 of the way around the city in trails then. The new outdoor aquatic center, we received the bids on those just last week, and we're going through right now what does it mean as far as what we can accept, what we can afford, how we're going to pay for it. Obviously, the bids came in higher than what we had anticipated, so we're looking at what we can do from a financial standpoint. This was a high priority to replace the pool. We need to get it replaced. We were funding the bond through TIF, so it's a matter of the gap, how we can address the gap right now. Where am I at? The Beeler Park, that's a project out there. They got the pickleball courts in, and they're putting a parking lot and a shelter house in there with restrooms, and that will be a great park once that's done. Eventually, walking path around it too. So again, parks are enhancing the existing parks. The Dewey Street sidewalk, curb, stormwater infrastructure replacement, that was part of the community crossings, and we're underway. We got caught with the winter months, so it's just continuing through the year. And then the new deck at the Jasper Mill, that mill's been up a number of years, and what we saw was the flooring was rotting out due to the moisture effect. So the new deck is going in. It's about a $150,000 project, and it has been bid out and should be starting construction sometime soon. Then the bridge replacements will take place as with affordability. You know, they'll be doing one at a time or so.
Here, do we have drawings for the downtown infrastructure revitalization phase 2? Do we have drawings on that?
We have
Yeah,
drawings?
Yeah.
They're final drawings, yeah. We have final drawings.
supposed to be bidding that in, well, we wanted to bid it in January. I just made a note to follow up on that. We might be a week or 2 weeks behind, but yeah, we have,
Can those be sent out to us to see?
I think they can. They're pretty large files, but as a PDF maybe, or
figure something out.
Okay.
then the power plant.
Completed though on that, the water lines and all that's done.
That's all done.
Yeah, a lot of that infrastructure has been completed. It's a matter of
Stormwater.
stormwater is the one that's not been. Power plant, what we're going to do with the power plant property, that's still to be determined. We had gone down the path and still thinking the best use for it is multifamily residential and doing a request for proposal, but we're backing up a little bit and meeting with the utilities to see if there's a use within the city, or if we have alternatives for the utilities, then we'll continue with that. But we want to back up and make sure we take a good look at it. The Regional Wellness Center, that project, we've been working on it for almost 3 years now. And it continues to gain momentum. I'm sorry?
Surely it's been longer than that.
Yeah, I think it has, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. But it bends and twists and morphs and becomes a challenging project for us, but we've got a lot of community support and encouraged by the possibilities in the future. So I'll keep you posted on that. Then there's several housing projects that are being planned, not just within the city limits, but also adjacent. So we probably have some annexations in the future as well. And I'm encouraged by the number of people that are coming forward expressing an interest in building housing in Jasper. 15th Street Extension west to Highway 56 has been on our plans for our multimodal transportation plan for quite a while, and this year we should get started on the road part of that. We probably won't get to the bridge until the following year, and the bridge will be done by the county. So we had funding in place for it or reserved for it. It's a matter of getting those final engineering documents and then getting the land acquired so we can move forward. And then the HELP grant, we had identified through that HELP grant that we were going to do a residential rehabilitation program with Region 15 at the helm. This is in conjunction with Du Bois County. So we know there's residences across the county and within the city of Jasper that need some help. And that's what that's all about, is to help them address some of their immediate needs for a roof or the front of the house or windows, those kind of things.
One that I don't see on here yet, and I'll just make this mention in there, I've been kind of eagerly anticipating that one, but if we could find some money this year to take the sidewalk along 231, we went from downtown
Finish it.
to 36th Street, and then the Walgreens properties got the sidewalk when they developed it there, and that's where we stopped. We're about a block and a half short of what our initial goal was of getting out to the shopping center there, in there. So I was hoping maybe I'd see that on this list, or we can get that on, if not 24 into 25. I think
I
that.
think it would be in 25, Paul.
Okay.
Focus is really trying to get that north
Sure.
trail complete, that link from Mill Street to St. Charles, but it's a matter of where we get from. We'll go through the project prioritization in February as council. So
Just that block and a half short, and I thought, gosh, we're so close to getting that completed.
yeah, I think there's several of those kind of projects we'd like to see completed.
Could that even be considered as part of the trail? Because in a way, it would take that trail north and then take the trail west.
I think it'd be a stretch.
Yeah.
Because we've been putting sidewalks in going north. Difference in the specification of that trail, yeah. And let's get on with 2024.
I think you're right, though, Nancy. It's pedestrian. So it's not a multi-use trail, but it is an access for pedestrians and connects those areas.
From where that trail would be
Yeah.
by Walgreens. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Great job, Mayor. Thank you.